Hi, hello everybody. I am Lee Coyne, your coach and host, so to speak, here at Gray Matters. And these are the ties that bind. Today we're tying ourselves to none other than TJ Sullivan in this corner. And TJ happens to have had an illustrious political career in the council for a term or two, but we're going to focus mainly on his role these days as a Little League coach over at Sprague and how he got interested in sports as a young dude way back when. And now that he's a slightly older dude, what life is like for him today. So welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, you say you were born in Salem, I believe.
Yep.
Give us a picture of what Salem was like many moons ago when you were growing up here, and what's the differences have been.
You know, it was spread out, and there was not quite the same connection between the parts of town that we have now. You know, downtown was more of an industrial spot.
Really?
Wow. So you didn't have cool places to go. It was Lancaster was a farmland.
Ha!
And so it was just, you know, it was spread out, disconnected, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've become a lot more of a connected community over the, through the years,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird, right? More development, lots of rural farm space, and yet as a result, we're more connected.
Well, we have a lot of different events that connect us. World Beat Festival coming up. We have other type of things during the year, and I'm glad we are.
Yeah.
This little thing, this button of mine, is from the Salem Peace Mosaic, and you know the mosaic consists of many little pieces that form the whole jigsaw puzzle. It's outside the YMCA. August will mark 5 years since it came into fruition, and what I did was open up my little big mouth and got the Salem Art Association and the school system and the church community, and we got 2 grants. One was from Marion County Cultural Cooperative, whatever they call themselves, and the other was the Oregon Arts Commission. Thank you. And we raised $12,000 in about 6 months from zero, and got the materials and the wonderful mural artist Lynn Takada from Portland, originally from Chicago, and we made it a reality. And what was happening at the time was that kids were going crazy with the graffiti downtown, and business people were fed up. Some of the consumers are fed up, and they want to chop that jugular vein of every teenager around. No, that's hyperbole, but anyway.
Yeah, no, and as a community member, we're better off for it.
TJ, I said, we got to get something to involve the kids where they could be proud of some artistic rendering, and we came up with the idea that peace is really the meaning of Salem, Salam, Shalom. A lot of people don't know that. I said, let's find out what young people think peace looks like graphically, illustration-wise, and they came up with, and I think it was the first, or one of the first, murals in the state in which kids designed it themselves.
Yeah,
it's outside the Y. It has the North Salem High School, Judson Middle School, McKinley, Hillcrest, and Center 50 Plus threw in some slogans. And we had probably the only time a state poet laureate had been such that she wrote an original poem that's embedded within the mural itself.
That's great.
So
it's a great addition to our community for sure.
Yeah. So let's get to, now we're more united. We're going to be having, even probably on June 19th, a Refugee Salute Day, World Refugee Day, tentatively at Peace Plaza. We're waiting for approval on that one. And we want to welcome all the refugees who've struggled through war zones, whether it's Congo, Eritrea, Somaliland, Afghanistan, Iraq, and we want to show them that we are a welcoming and caring community.
Absolutely.
So that,
great.
Okay. So let's talk about a little bit about your career. When you were a little tyke, way back then, what did you dream of becoming? What was your childhood what-if dream?
You know, it's funny, my parents talk about the fact that we were driving through town when I was, about my son's age, 10 or 11, and I looked out and I said, I love this town and I want to make it better. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, wherever you land, that if that's your goal is to make it better, that was where I was at when I was 11, and it's where I'm at now that I'm 42. So, Nothing grand. I wanted to be the starting center fielder for the Oakland A's, but
okay.
that one went by the wayside.
There's a talent scout right outside the door ready to sign you up.
Yeah. Too slow.
So we're gonna do our own Grand Slam. We want to know about some of your early days. Let's say middle school, junior high school, high school. What athletics were you involved in then? Were you in baseball those days?
Baseball, soccer, basketball.
Okay.
And the great thing about sports is that, just like you were talking about a mosaic, right? You bring people together who don't necessarily always know each other, and you throw them out and say, here you go function together as a team. And you learn really quick how to work with other people. And sometimes there's personality differences, sometimes there's attitude differences, and you learn how to set those things aside for the benefit of the whole. And so,
you become a subdued dude.
Yeah. I found that football I wasn't into. The whole idea of getting tackled wasn't really appealing to me. But I love playing basketball, I love playing baseball, and did quite a bit of that. And
what position did you play, TJ?
Left out. I got left out a lot. No, I played in basketball, anytime, anything that could shoot.
In baseball?
Baseball. First base, pitcher, outfield.
Okay, I'm thinking back. Yours truly is an old Brooklyn Dodger, so first base clicks to Gil Hodges with me.
Yeah. No, I was listening to Vince Scully the other night. He's retiring after 68 years in calling baseball games, and he's still at 88 years old. He goes in and he does the whole game all by himself.
I know, man.
Can you believe that? Can you believe an old guy doing a show all by himself?
I'm afraid for old guys. Remember, I'm sort of a gerontologist.
You're not old. You're still at 74 compared to Vince Scully. You're spring chicken.
Well, may I live to 80-something.
Yes, amen to that.
Nothing's assured here. Okay. What were your good subjects in school when you were a student?
History.
History.
Anything involving drawing.
Oh.
Math. I liked going to school.
Do you still do drawing at all?
No.
No more art?
No more art.
And what art did you employ to get Mrs. TJ?
Oh. I
want to ask you what you used for bait, though.
Yeah. I've known my wife since junior high, so she knew me when I was a dipstick in junior
Precocious.
high.
Early bloomer. At springtime, too.
Yeah. No, we've, I think it's just, we used to eat lunch together every day in junior high. And
now you eat out each other's heart.
Yeah, exactly. No, we figure out a way to make it work. So.
Okay.
You've known somebody that long, there's nothing I can tell her she hasn't heard before. So.
Well, I'll throw this in, even though it's not part of the formal discussion, because I've been reflecting a lot on what makes relationship work. And I think things like having common food or movies or even music in common is only the whipped cream on the case. What really is the bottom line, so to speak, is your coping skills and setbacks and disappointments and failures even, or like setbacks is not as evil a word as failures, and whether you can come together when you face a common setback and cope without anger and support one another through the crisis of that stage. I think even my new friend Sarah, who's watching in the audience, will agree to that. She's saying, been there, done that to herself.
Yeah, I was thinking this was my fan club, and then, then they're your next guest. That's great.
Okay, good. So, tell us how you got involved in the politics of Salem. How did the bug first bite you?
Just as a business person being here, and you come in and you think, gosh, let's say that teamwork mentality, that everybody's going to get along, everybody's going to work together.
Kumbaya.
And we're going to make it work. And then what I saw happening inside the community was I saw leaders who were leading based on fear. And what they would do is they would create division and say, hey, there's this group of people out here who are developers, and they do this and they do that, and they ruin the community, and if you elect me, I'll protect you from them. Or these business people, I'll protect you from them.
I'm going to give this a title. First time, a coin word, the boogeyman syndrome.
Yeah. And, I kept thinking, well, wait a minute. The people who you're calling these names are your neighbor, and have you talked to them about what the issues are, and are you working with them? And, because I found that a lot of times if you go to somebody and you just start instantly calling them names, they tend to put up some walls, and they're a lot less likely to come along to your side of the way of seeing things, versus going to them and saying, hey, for your community, it would be a lot better if you would approach it this way and help me understand the reason why you're doing what you're doing. And so when I saw that type of leadership, I said, that's not leadership, and we need to get that type of leader removed, and we need to replace him with somebody who's going to be a champion for Salem, and somebody who's going to come alongside and work with people who are on opposite sides of the aisle and are going to make these things that divide us irrelevant, not there. And so I worked to help get Janet Taylor elected, and following that election, I went on to city council not too long after that, and she was really a champion for Salem. I mean, everywhere she went, it didn't matter your skin color, it didn't matter your sexual orientation, it didn't matter any of that. If you were a Salemite, she was going to champion, and she was going to work to help you, and that was kind of how the council functioned at that time.
Right. Union Street Bridge, I think, came during her, and also the convention center.
Convention Center, Center 50 Plus, the Kroc Center.
Right.
We added the Battle Creek Golf Course, which is going to be someday a park almost as big as Bush Park.
What is it Illaway? What's the golf course in Southeast?
Illahee?
The one that's going to be used for something else. They're giving up on it.
Creekside.
Yeah, Creekside. Now I'm wondering, and you and I don't have the power of self, I'm wondering whether we could convince the people at Western Oregon University to create a graduate school or a campus there that might even encompass a school of social work. And the genius for that possibly is that if we have a school of social work here in Salem, the only one in the state is in Portland, less traffic, but also every social work student could be assigned to monitor a state agency in their field and learn about public policy, the big picture, and not just the one-to-one counseling one person or a family, so they could understand how policy is made and how the rules that they have to live by are formulated.
The state's looking to sell the land right across the street from the state hospital. That might not be a bad place to put such a school.
That would be, and that land could also involve having what you call therapy-prone students, people in mental health, to do their internships at the state hospital.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it would be a win-win.
Yeah.
And if the hospital is undermanned or underwomaned in terms of employees, sometimes a
ready-made labor pool
few
right there.
Internships could help to fill that gap just a little in all.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. So we had a good run on council. We had a good run of success, and I think we built a lot of solid things that, I have an 11 and a 9-year-old, so I look at everything like, what am I going to leave for them? How is Salem going to look when they take over? And there's a great quote that I've told people that John Adams, the second president of our United States, was writing to his wife, and he said, I got to study politics and war so that my kids can study business and math, so that their kids can study art and science and literature, and really that's what you want. I don't want my kids to have to wrestle with the things that we wrestle with. I want them to be able to focus on library and parks. And so when I was on council, it was funny because we had this discussion between my wife and I about whether or not it was a good time for me to run when I ran for city council. And we'd been trying for 3 years to have kids and couldn't get pregnant. And about a week after I got elected, my wife told me she was pregnant with our first.
Hallelujah!
Yeah, and so I don't know if you necessarily want to have a full-time job, be on city council, and be raising a kid, but it was a fun time, and we got through it. And everything that I did, I can look at and point to my kids and say, I did this. And you get to inherit this and take care of it. And I'm proud of everything that we did for the next generation. And that's I think that's got to be the mark of what a good city council accomplishes. That you can point to the next generation and say, we're going to make life easier on you. We're going to make life better for you.
TJ, I'm going to draw an analogy, but first I want us to talk about how you got involved with Little League and coaching. And then toward the end of our show, we'll see, are there any parallels between coaching counselors or lobbyists or whoever to to do their jobs right in coaching a team, because the city council is a team that's sometimes fragmented, but not always.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, how I got into coaching, I was working 60, 80 hours a week in my job. And
Tell us about what was your job.
I have a Huggins Insurance.
Okay.
So we've got a great agency here in town, and when you run a business, you're required to put in more time doing all the other things. If something breaks down, you're there to fix it, and you still have other responsibilities in addition.
It's called the et cetera part.
Yeah, et cetera, et cetera. And so, as I just found myself putting in a lot of time at work, and I wanted to spend time with my kids and be intentional about it. And so, as the opportunity came up to coach both my son and my daughter in sports, my son with baseball, my daughter with basketball, it just gave me an hour and a half to be with them. But it's also fun to watch your kids interact with other kids.
Oh, yeah.
And see, are they a leader? Are they a follower? How do they handle pressure? How do they handle success? How do they handle losing? And so it just gave me opportunities to speak into their lives, and
very important stuff to learn.
The same care and concern I have for them. I mean, I can go back through and I can tell you almost every coach I ever had. I can tell you every teacher I ever had. I can tell you the good teachers, the bad teachers, the good coaches and the bad coaches. And the good coaches were the ones who, at the end of the day, made me feel invincible. And as a kid, I mean, what a better feeling. There's no better feeling as an adult to see that you take a kid who shows up at practice with their head down, not feeling great about themselves, and an hour and a half later, they're leading the chant off the field, and they're so full of vim and vigor, and they're ready to take on the world. That's the way a kid should feel.
Now, how do you help get the losing team re-spirited, if there's such a word, so that they don't feel like we're just losers and downcast?
We had an experience in basketball this year where we lost on my son's basketball team. We lost almost every game. We were overmanned. Outmanned in every game we played, and these kids showed up and they fought hard in every game because and we talked about this. Sometimes in life, you get dealt a bad hand, and you got two options on how you can deal with it. You can either put your head down and say poor me and stop trying, but nobody's going to hand you anything in life. You got to fight and scrap to get everything. And so we would have fun at practices. We would laugh a lot, we would work hard, and the kids saw, we would set benchmarks and talk about where you were at the beginning of the season and where you were at the end of the season, and maybe, you lost the games that we played, but you as a person were growing, and you got way better as a basketball player. You got way better as a teammate, and as I sat and talked with these kids at 10 and 11 years old, they saw in themselves a lot of personal growth, and that to them, they saw the benefit of that.
Have self-esteem.
More than just winning. And so that's that's what you point to. Winning is great. Everybody loves winning, but sometimes you learn more about yourself when you go through trials. So
know thyself.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Now, you also worked as a team member within the Salem City Council. What were some of the great challenges faced, some of the issues of your heyday, and what were you able to do or observe others doing that brought together and built coalitions to make it all work?
I'll tell you a funny story. So I was on council with Jim Randall. He was the councilor from Ward 2. And Laura Tesler ran against him, and I worked really hard on Jim's campaign to help him win. Jim lost, Laura won, and sometimes when you run a campaign, there can be friction, and you work on a campaign, there can be friction. And so not long after she won, I called her up and said, "Hey, let's go get some pizza and beer and talk about life." And so it's funny. So we went and we met. We had a great time talking and laughing. And then at some point in the dinner, she said, I got to tell you something. I've been told by a lot of people that you're a real jerk." And she used a different term.
That we can't say on camera?
Yeah, that I'd prefer not to say on camera. But she said, you're actually a nice person. and you're different than everything I've heard about you. I said, good, go tell everybody that has told you I'm a jerk, that I'm not. And Laura and I came at things from a different way.
Yeah.
But we helped each other's thought processes, and we would, people would say, "Oh, you guys are agreeing. That's terrible that you guys agree on outcomes and that there's a 9-0 council vote." No, it's a part of collaboration. It's a part of that mentality of working as a team, where, okay, tell me how you see this happening, and how do we work together? And Samsung Solar is somebody that we recruited to town, and the piece of property that they wanted had a bunch of white oaks on the property, right? So the business side of people were saying, well, go cut every tree down, and it's a business park. We put businesses there. And Laura was saying, no, white oaks are a heritage tree, and we need to save them. And we started working through that process, and we incorporated her view of saving these trees, and the way that we did it was sort of ingenious with staff, and we created kind of a natural area for water detention. And Sanyo, their corporate philosophy really fits with that. It's a solar company, right?
It is, yeah.
And they liked that approach. That actually made the land more valuable to them.
It validated their
And it made them
project,
want to
yeah.
come here and be a part of fitting in on this piece of property. And so you were able to take the commerce side of things, and you were able to blend it with the green side of things and make it work in a way that everybody could feel good about doing. And so, that's the kind of decision-making process. And there were others where I would go to Laura and say, hey, I see this, what do you see? And we would make decisions in that way. And so you had people who are on polar opposites of the political spectrum working together as a team. And that's part of the reason why I think we were so successful inside this city. I remember somebody who doesn't care for me a whole lot said that, while you were on council, you guys had, you guys had a few once-in-a-lifetime projects. I'm like, well, we had like 8 once-in-a-lifetime projects while I was on council. And they said, well, you just got lucky. Well, I'd like to think that maybe it was a result of the fact that we had different factions that put down their sabers and figured out how to work together for the benefit of the city. And
collaborate, not clobber.
that's right. That's a good way to put it.
I know. I think in alliterations.
Yeah,
Crazy, right?
I like that. What do you dream in?
Technicolor.
Good. I'm still in black and white.
Some other program we'll talk about dreams and all. I think I'd like to. We talked before the show, and I'll share it with. I hope that the next mayor and council will decide that every commercial parking lot in the city of Salem have 2 years to get their ducks in order and literally designate each row by a letter of the alphabet, a number, or a color, so that people who aren't paying close attention, like you and me, can know where the heck their car is parked and say, oh, I parked in a number B parking lot for belligerent, or C for corrosive, or I parked in the yellow one because it reminds me of the sunlight, or something that we can't talk about on camera.
Yeah, that all that kind of stuff definitely helps. I know when my son was first born, what I loved was I could go into the store to buy him clothes, and I would just buy everything that had a little whale on it, and I knew it would match. Or I could buy everything with a little monkey on it, and I knew it could match. And then one day I was looking at my dad, who's 74, and I said, they need to do the same thing for guys your age. They put something on there so you know what matches and what goes together.
Terrific. Okay, we have just about 4 minutes left. So let's talk a little bit more about character building and coaching in baseball, and tell us some of the stories or anecdotes or things that you've seen about how the art of baseball scores a home run in character building.
Well, one of the things that we've noticed is that whether you're batting or whether you're out in the field and you're playing defense, that when you're talking and encouraging, you tend to perform better. Not just the person who's receiving the encouragement, but the person who's giving the encouragement also tends to be better teams that are silent, that are quiet, that are not encouraging, nobody seems to perform very well. And so it's just an interesting phenomenon how just a little bit of encouragement, whether you're giving it or you're getting it, goes a long way. And so sometimes you can take that back and you forget the power of a compliment to folks and how it makes them feel. So, just telling somebody like, Barry, you've got an amazing mind. You are no shortage for words, and you're a great interviewer.
Thank you.
Right? And
I don't know, great. I'd like to be confident.
Yeah. Okay.
Because greatness puts too high a standard, and then you.
I overshot that compliment a little bit too high.
Yeah.
You're
But by
a
the way,
mediocre. You're a mediocre interviewer.
I'm on the short side, so I like to tease people when I go into the office. I say, "I bet your inbox is taller than I am," and they always laugh at that one.
That's good. Well, you're good at making people laugh too.
Well, it's anecdotes. Because I had a guidance teacher way back named Florence Curtin, and I was very somber and serious at the time, and she said, "Mr. Coyne, if you never develop a sense of humor, you're going to be an abject failure in life. You better start developing it." So I got scared into action.
What's your best joke?
I don't have a joke per se, but one of my slogans is, "Don't mess with my stress," or "Too violent a discussion brings on a concussion."
Nice.
If you don't follow through, people won't follow you. I want to be a modern-day Paul Richards almanac writer. It's been over 200 years since Ben Franklin left us, and I think the modern age for people like Kimberly and her lovely daughter Sarah, that they need to have some new thought process to motivate them onward to success.
Isn't that what bumper stickers are for?
Well, that's a short way of doing it, but this is more literary.
Yeah, no, I like that idea.
Although you could turn this into, you could have "Don't mess with my stress" as a bumper sticker.
I think that would be a great one.
Or "Behave, not rave, or you'll soon be in the grave."
All of those things would cause people to follow you a little less closely.
Okay. "Smile without guile."
Yeah, you got them all.
I know.
We're going to go in the bumper sticker business. How do you feel about starting up a new business?
Listen, I need to get more coins to my name.
I like that.
Okay.
There's no shortage.
So any closing thoughts for persevering for the younger and older generation? Let me ask this final question. What could the older generation learn from your work with the younger generation, and if you're in a new job setting? How do we achieve teamwork in 30 seconds or less?
I think, that just being patient. I think that this generation, there's a lot more free thinkers. There's no box to think in, and so sometimes I've noticed that folks that are a little older have a very staid way of doing things, and thinking outside the box would be a great thing, and being patient with the younger generation.
Good. Thank you, TJ, and we will welcome you at Brazilian Springtime. It's so good to have you and your message.
Play ball.
Bye.